And happy Tuesday, everyone. My name is meteorologist Heather Kane. It's time for our daily hail forecast, sponsored as always by C3 Group, Merlin Law Group, American Contractors Show, as well as Atlas Roofing. Thank you guys, as always, for sponsoring our videos. So we do have some severe weather ongoing in parts of Iowa and Nebraska, down into Missouri, and more severe weather is expected as we go throughout the day today. So we'll talk about what areas we're going to be watching. And then as we get into tomorrow, that risk will be shifting into the Great Lakes region. And then we also have a small area that we'll be keeping an eye on in parts of Kansas as well. And then we will jump into Thursday to see what areas we'll be watching with this same system. So let's take a look at our current conditions across the lower 48. You can see the low here spinning basically in parts of eastern Nebraska. Plenty of severe weather basically occurring along and ahead of that low pressure system, and we do have a few warnings going on here as well. So we're going to zoom right on in a little bit here. Again, we do have some tornado warnings in eastern Nebraska and some other warnings here in parts of Iowa down into Missouri. A tornado watch is in effect for the areas shaded in this yellow box here until 6 p.m. Central Time. So zooming in even more to take a look at the warnings, we have a few here in northeastern Missouri, getting into southeastern Iowa. Des Moines, you're getting some severe weather right now as well. And then again, a few tornado warnings here in parts of Nebraska. So of course, make sure you take your severe weather precautions if you're under any of these warnings. If you're under a tornado warning, especially get into the lowest part of your home. If you don't have a basement, take shelter in the middle of your home and get as many walls between you and the tornado as you possibly can. So zooming back on out to take a look at our temperatures. Plenty of warmth here in the eastern part of the country. We got 77 in Atlanta, 81 down in Miami, 72 in Kansas City, and then getting behind this low pressure system, we start to drop in terms of our temperatures. It's only 47 in Minneapolis and 60 in Denver. And then in terms of our dew points, we have plenty of moisture associated with this system, getting up to a 59-degree dew point in St. Louis. A bit sticky down in Dallas, where we have a 68-degree dew point, but don't worry, no severe weather is expected down there today, as that front will be pushing on through. But yeah, we have plenty of moisture with this system, and it is definitely feeding on it. So here is our future jet stream, low pressure aloft, and it's just going to continue to push on to the east as we go into the next few days. As we get into tomorrow, that low will push into the Great Lakes region. So basically from Michigan all the way down to parts of Kentucky, we'll be watching it, you guys, for the potential severe weather tomorrow. And then as we get into Thursday, just taking this jolly old time here to get back up into Canada, but we are watching a risk for parts of the Ohio Valley down into parts of Texas, potentially for a few little wiggles here in the flow. We'll get into that at least into a little bit more detail in just a few minutes. But yeah, that will continue to push off to the east as we get into our Friday and then into our weekend. So once again, with our dew points, we have plenty of moisture associated with this system, and it's going to continue to feed up here into Iowa, into Missouri as we go through the rest of the day today, getting into parts of Illinois, Chicago. You may see some storms later on this evening, as far south as potentially Little Rock, and then getting into tomorrow at noon. This system will continue to push off to the east. We'll be watching my hometown of Detroit for the potential of severe weather early tomorrow afternoon, getting down into Cincinnati, parts of Kentucky, as far east as Pittsburgh, and you can see that moisture starts to dwindle a bit as we get into tomorrow evening. But then we start to see more moisture return as we get into Wednesday and then into Thursday. So we'll be watching parts of Missouri, eastern Oklahoma, maybe as far west as Dallas. We'll see, I think, a lot. If any storms develop, it'll be mostly east of Dallas as of right now, but we will be keeping an eye on you guys. And then as we get into Friday, that moisture again will be pushing off into the southeast. So here's our instability. We do have some going on right now in Iowa, down into Missouri and into Illinois, all the way down to parts of Arkansas. So that's what these storms are feeding on. They're feeding on that instability in the atmosphere, and it's going to continue to stick around as we go through the rest of the day. And then getting into midnight tonight, you can see it starts to shift a little bit to the east here in parts of Illinois, again all the way down to parts of Arkansas. Again, Dallas, you're not going to get anything today. That system is to your northeast. So then as we get into tomorrow, though, you can see that instability starts to build back up. So Detroit all the way down to parts of Kentucky, we'll be watching it, you guys. And then getting into later on tomorrow, we can see that instability continues to push east. Yes, there will be some high values tomorrow here in Oklahoma City and Dallas, but there's no system to set anything off, so nothing's expected for severe weather. There are just some pretty colors on the map for you. But then as we get into Thursday, that next system will start to tap in, just a little disturbance, and we could see some severe weather from Missouri down to parts of eastern Texas. So a lot going on, and then you can see as we get into Friday, that instability pretty much just dwindles. So let's get into our future radar. I am using a different model today because the other model I usually use was not really working properly. So this is a different model, but you can see storms ongoing like we saw in our current radar, and this model is depicting that. So as we go into the rest of this afternoon, more storms are expected to fire ahead of that low pressure system, along ahead of that cold front. And then as we get into later on this evening, Chicago, we could watch you guys for the potential of some hail there. So this is at 8 p.m. Central, and we could still see a little bit of activity on the backside of that low. And then getting into midnight, you can see that activity starts to push off into parts of lower Michigan, down into Indiana, and that will continue to push off to the east as we go into the overnight hours. And then we're going to go a little bit further south here to see the southern part of the risk. Some more storms are expected to fire here in parts of Missouri, and we could see a few storms here fire along and just north of Little Rock. And then as we get later on in the evening, they start to dwindle off a bit, losing their intensity. So mostly just some heavier showers and storms. The severe threat should be lowering here as we go into later on in the evening. We could see a few more storms develop here in parts of southern Illinois, western Kentucky, and western Tennessee. And then as we get into the overnight hours, that activity will push off to the east as well. So our max hail size today, I think it should get up to tennis ball size, and the best chance to see that large hail. Well, let's take a look at our forecast for today. Basically, quarter-size hail is possible from very southern parts of Minnesota all the way down to Little Rock, Arkansas. So a low chance there for Little Rock. Indianapolis, a moderate chance for you guys in Chicago as we get into later on this evening. The best chance to see that large hail, though, is going to be in Illinois, and that does include Des Moines. Anywhere from 2 to 2.5 inch hail is possible with those strongest storms. And even St. Louis, I have you guys in the risk. And then that city that I won't mention, you guys have a low-end chance to see anywhere from $2.50 size hail today. And then in terms of wind, same areas basically from parts of very far southern Minnesota all the way down to Little Rock. you guys have that chance for 60 to 70 mile per hour wind gusts. The best areas that we'll be watching: Des Moines, maybe as far east as Chicago, St. Louis, low end chances in Indianapolis, all the way down to Little Rock. And then we could see a storm or two fire up here in parts of the Ohio Valley, although those chances look to be pretty low. And then for our tornado forecast, it's going to be basically, again, some of those same areas. We do have some tornado warnings ongoing in Nebraska, so far eastern Nebraska. That does include Omaha, Des Moines, low-end chances for Chicago, St. Louis, Casey, all the way down to Little Rock. So again, I think those best chances for those tornadoes will be in central Iowa. So we're going to jump into tomorrow. We're going to wake up. There's going to be some showers going on here in the Great Lakes region, from Michigan all the way down to Ohio, Pennsylvania, down into the Virginias, and then some cooler rain here on the backside of the system in Wisconsin. As we go into the afternoon, we're going to stop it at 12 p.m. Central, so this is 1 p.m. Eastern time for the Great Lakes region, as they are in the Eastern time zone. You can see some storms are expected to fire up along and ahead of that front in the central lower parts of Michigan. As we go into later on the afternoon, we're going to stop it at 3:30 Eastern time. Those storms will be knocking on Detroit's door. Some hail and maybe some gusty winds will be possible with these as they continue to push off to the east. Cleveland, expect some storms around 6 p.m. Eastern time. And then as we get into later on in the evening, those storms will push through the Pittsburgh region between 9 and 10, 11 p.m. Eastern time there. And then watch as we go into later on in the evening in the overnight hours. Can see, and I'll go into another radar area in just a second. Some more storms may fire up here in parts of Missouri as well as into Kansas. So speaking of that area, here we go. So tomorrow we'll be quiet for pretty much a lot of the day, but we're going to stop at 7 p.m. Central. A few storms may try and fire here on in the eastern part of Kansas. Some models are firing storms, some models aren't. So this is a pretty low end risk right now. We'll see what happens as we get into tomorrow. But this particular model is firing storms here in southeastern Kansas and then even in parts of Missouri. So we're going to be keeping an eye on this risk as well as we go into the rest of, getting into tomorrow basically. And you can see some wind associated with this linear structure here may come through Kansas City as we go into Thursday morning. Again, this particular model is saying this, other models aren't. So it's, just stay tuned to see what happens as we fine tune this as we get into tomorrow. So in terms of tomorrow's hail forecast, the main area again is going to be here in the Great Lakes region, from Detroit, Indianapolis, eastward into parts of Ohio, Cincinnati, Columbus. You guys have the best chance to see that large hail tomorrow. Maybe ping pong ball, maybe a few golf balls here and there. I think a lot of it's going to be, in the $2.50 size, but I'm not ruling out some larger hail here in this region. Pittsburgh to Charleston, all the way down to Nashville, low end chance to see that $2.50 size hail there. And then, like I mentioned, a small area we'll be watching for some storms in parts of Kansas, Wichita. You have a low end chance to see $2.50 size hail with that. And then in terms of wind, basically the same areas here in the Great Lakes region, from Detroit to Indianapolis, low end chance in Pittsburgh, all the way down to Nashville with any of those storms that develop with that. And there could be a tornado or two, especially in the northern parts of this area that we'll be watching. So just keep that in mind as well. And then as we get into Thursday, we do have an area, a pretty large area that we'll be watching for severe weather. It doesn't look like it's going to be anything, substantial. It's a large area that we'll be watching for some scattered storm development. So Cincinnati, we got parts of Kentucky, Nashville, Memphis, Little Rock, all the way down to Dallas, potentially. Low-end chance for you guys as of right now, but still a pretty large area that we'll be watching on our Thursday. So that's all that I have for you guys right now. Make sure you follow us on Twitter, X, whatever the heck you want to call it, Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, and our TikTok pages. Make sure you hit See First on Facebook so you don't miss any of our live videos. If you want to get set up with a demo, you can scan that QR code above, and that will get you set up with a demo to learn more about us and our products. And then if you have any questions or concerns, you can call us at 855-334-4245. You can email us at info@hailtrace.com and check out our website at www.hailtrace.com. And I am meteorologist Heather Kay. I hope you all have a great rest of your Tuesday.